As I said earlier, we know there are millions of you out there who are caring for older family members. Unfortunately, the sacrifices that you make often go unnoticed. So, today, we want to acknowledge your work and also share how you, as a caregiver, can receive the care and support that you may need. Here to offer some wise words and advice is Patty Kearns, author of Lessons in the Divine for Caregivers. Welcome, Patty.
Thank you for having me here today, Meredith.
Oh, thank you for being here. So tell me a little bit, what is a caregiver? How would we define it?
Well, anytime you assume the responsibility for the health care and well-being of the frail and elderly, you're a caregiver. If your father suddenly gets cancer, if your sister breaks her ankle, if your baby is born with brain injuries, you're a caregiver. If your mother starts presenting with Alzheimer's, you're a caregiver.
And I know you say that there are two different types of caregivers.
Yeah. There are the paid and the non-paid providers. I'm a non-paid provider.
And
I work
mother,
at home.
Your mother
Yes,
was diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
Yes, and so I do the work behind the scenes at home. Family, friends, those are the non-paid caregivers. Then you have the paid providers, nurses, visiting nurses, health aides, all of the industry, the healthcare industry that assists in this process. The part of the process in my case is now I have help with a health aide who comes in and helps with the toileting, the bathing, the dressing,
and that relieves some of that pressure.
Oh, a little bit.
Yeah, because it's amazing. I was reading an article, a study got released this weekend, I think it was a few days ago, and they talked about the most stressful jobs to have. And the #1 most stressful job to have was a caregiver, or they were talking about depression, you know, yes, in different occupations. And it amazes me because
Meredith, more than an air traffic controller now?
Yeah.
We did it.
I mean, it was amazing.
This is a
looking
national
at it.
treasure.
And I thought to myself, oh my goodness, and imagine those, they're talking about professions. And then imagine all of the stress and the burden on those who aren't being financially compensated, who are doing this out of their own responsibility.
Of course.
You know, for those who might be out there and are new to caregiving, they've suddenly found themselves thrust kind of into this situation, what could they expect?
Well, caregiving is a hot topic, and the surveys are proving it. I foresee that there will be more and more legislation to support caregivers.
And is that something to do with the baby boom generation?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And I think now there are about 54 million and growing of caregivers at home, because this is the largest population, aging population in history. The baby boomer generation.
Wow. And that's something, what other things can we expect for those who are new to it?
If you're a caregiver, not having any time to yourself.
I can imagine.
It's crazy. You don't get to brush your teeth until 7 o'clock at night sometimes, the first brushing. It's really, it turns your world upside down, even if you are the most organized person.
Even when you're the most organized, things can still fall apart. You can't anticipate the chaos.
And I think that's even more frustrating, because if you're a type A, for example, and you're not a patient person, you want to get things done, you're used to getting things done, you have to slow it down and be patient, and it turns your world upside down.
So for those out there who already realize it does turn your world upside down, and for those new, what are some tips that you can give us? Ideas to think about when we're approaching it, you know, good steps that improve a caregiver's resilience?
Well, breathing. Breathing, #1, breathing, and in a meditative way, so that before you get upset about anything, you just step back and just breathe. Use your voice. These are simple little things that we have on the shelf. Use your voice. Soften your tone. You can try that. It works instantly to avoid some of the stress.
Yeah, actually changing the physical, taking that deep breath,
yes,
allowing your brain to have some oxygen, and you said softening your tone.
Soften your tone. It will tone you. Soften the tone of your tone. It will help you hear the truth.
Interesting. So just softening your voice, physically making that change, can change your mental and emotional.
It changes your physical responses. Think about that. And the other person's also, which is fascinating.
That's
changes the
interesting.
whole mood. Yes.
That's a very good tip. So when you're finding yourself being anxious, take those types of steps. Now, I know something that you really, really find a lot of strength and comfort in is a sense of humor.
A sense of humor, your good-naturedness. Oh, hold on to your good-naturedness, and if there's something that makes you laugh, let it entertain you. You must. It's critical in this caregiver
laugh.
business.
Find
Yes.
those moments.
Yes,
Enjoy them. Have
Yes.
them. You know, I think that for a lot of caregivers, they reach that moment where they just feel like they're going to break. You know, the
Yes.
pressure and everything and the monotony, the unending days. What kind of
Yes.
advice would you give someone who's feeling like that?
For me, it's prime that I never lose sight of my noble purpose. Remember, we're supposed to be doing for them when they can no longer provide for themselves.
And that's the noble purpose that you're talking
That is
about.
the noble purpose. That really is. And when you have an intent like that and you stay strong with it, it's like having a mission you can follow through. It's a stronger vision. It's a higher vision.
So in addition to finding that calling and recognizing what you're doing, I know you also talk about something called ant medicine. You had me stumped there.
It makes you remember. Think about it. It makes you remember. Ant medicine is a gift from the Native American elders, and they are a national treasure. Ant medicine is a national treasure too, as are caregivers. Ant medicine helps you to move an entire loaf of bread, one crumb at a time. Think about it. Use this when you have a big project. Use this, do one little step at a time, and it'll carry you through.
So focus on getting the little things done. Focus on getting those done, and the whole picture will come together. But if you think of that entire project and things spanning out, then that can oftentimes be too overwhelming. Ant medicine.
Ant medicine from the elders.
That was an interesting one too, but it's so true. It really is.
So helpful.
So what are some areas that a caregiver might neglect but they need to make time for? And what I'm talking about here is about for themselves.
Time for yourself is the most important thing. It's the best thing to do for yourself. Make a little bit of time, 5 minutes, and deep breathe, take it easy. Just 5 minutes changes everything. And that's what you need to do. You need to come back down from all of the bustle.
Mm-hmm. And take that time, have it for yourself.
Take that time.
And you also talk about the power of talking.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I would imagine, when you're in a situation where you're caring for someone, I know you've been with your mother who has Alzheimer's, or you're in the presence of a child maybe, or something like that, and you're missing that adult interaction, or you're missing the type of interaction that you typically have. And that idea of being able to talk and release it.
Oh, it's so true. Meredith, there are caregivers all over the nation in their silos of sadness, I like to call it. And that means that we all think we're isolated, but we're not. There are over 54 million caregivers, and they need to talk with one another. And here's how you find them, because everyone now knows someone who's a caregiver. So you talk at the doctor's office, you talk at your dentist's office, at your place of worship, on the supermarket lines.
Don't hesitate to reach out.
Reach out, and don't be afraid to do that. And the wonderful thing about that is that the person you're talking with might have found just the thing that you're looking for, and vice versa. You might be able to help that person with something that you've already learned that works for you, like ant medicine.
And make an exchange.
Make that exchange.
So what would you say is the toughest challenge in caring for parents who have gotten aged or frail?
Oh. There's a long, convoluted road that leads children to a place where they never dreamed they would have gone. And that's that moment, that terrible moment when you have this realization that you're the parent of your parent. This frail person now used to be the strong person.
And that's a lot to deal with psychologically, to realize that all of a sudden those roles are reversed and you have that kind of responsibility. So before we go, I wanted to ask, for those who might have friends or family members that are caregivers, what kind of advice do you have for them? How can they help?
Start with little things, little ways that you can help, like going to the store. But don't put the burden on the caregiver to try to make a list. Do something that you know that you can do, and give them time off, even if it's a day. And the trick here is
how can you do that?
Provide the care for the patient, because they will not leave the patient.
So step in for a day. Give them the break.
Whether
I'm
you
sure
pay,
there's places where you can hire someone to come in for a day.
Yes, you can hire a paid provider, or you can, if you're a family member and they trust that you can come in and take care of the patient yourself, to do so. It's so important. It's life-threatening not to have any downtime.
It is, and I like the way you said that, because it is. It's so important what you're doing as a caregiver, but at the same time, it's important not to forget about yourself. Patty, thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.